So, couple of things. This is really small, right? There's different size bells, right? This is a pretty small one. Sometimes you have ones that are probably this big. Obviously, the bigger it is, it might be a little easier to see. So here's the trick. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on that part, right? Now, if I wanted to, I can still do like this much. Or sorry, let's do that. Since it's small, people, again, have a difficult time figuring out, oh, well, what part of it should I draw? Keep in mind, this bell has some shiny spaces, right? Or shiny areas. Hot spot there, right? Hot spot there. And then you have some dark areas right there, and then these openings, right? So I'm going to draw this section right here, look, right here. And I'm going to draw it and enlarge it though. So now I'm going to zoom out, now that I've shown you what section I'm going to draw. And I'm going to have it be this big, right? It's okay if it gets cropped off or chopped off at the ends, right? But again, I'm focusing on this section. So let's go with half. I'm going to draw half of it. So I'm going to start up here. And it's almost like I'm going to make this line right here. Okay, that line. So remember, when you start drawing your object, we start with just the line drawing, right? And I'm going to just have it go off the page on both sides because it goes off towards the bottom that I don't see, right? And then I'm going to bring in this one and this one. So leaving this little gap for this gap in here. And so these don't come out to a point. Actually, I should make this one a little pointier. Remember that you should not draw them dark at the start. Why not? Why shouldn't we do these drawings dark at first? What's that? The lines, right? When you start shading, they won't be easy to get rid of. All right, and now, so this space here is this here. Now I'm going to do this other side, which is over here. And then it goes this way, right? And then the last space in here. So when you look at this right now, you're like, well, that's just almost like a cross. This is the easy part. Doing the line drawing is the easy part. What do you think will be the hard part for this? The shading. Keep in mind, these are curved. These aren't straight. So creating that curve effect is what's going to be difficult, right? What's the darkest part going to be of my drawing? Do you guys think? Well, the inside, right? The inside of the bell, which is these lines in here, right? So these lines in here will be the darkest, or the inside of these lines will be the darkest, right? Because that's going to be the inside of my bell, right? Okay, am I done? What else do I need to do with in terms of the line drawing? Is there a shadow anywhere? Where? So remember, this inside is just, or this segment in here is just dark, right? On the top line, so this line right here, yes. So that is a dark area. You're absolutely right. So the one thing, so that was the trick question that I asked you guys. There's no shadow in it because remember, we're zooming in. If we were drawing the whole thing, then yes, we would have a shadow around it right there, right? But since we're only drawing and focusing on where these points meet, we're looking now where Araceli stated these dark areas, right? There's a dark area here, and it's at the bottom. It's going to be here. So this section here will be that dark line right there. Because remember, we're zooming in on just the top part in there. So now, do you guys see that that line, that dark line, goes on each space? So obviously, we would then draw those other ones as well. Remember, the more details you draw, the better it'll be or easier it'll be when it comes to shading. What's after that? After I put all the dark areas. So here, 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 here. What is next? Fine. Well, remember, this is the darker parts. So if we found the darker parts, what's the opposite of the darker parts? The lighter parts, the hot spots. So if you guys see this right here, this point right here is the hot spot. Is there anywhere else? A little bit on this side? Right in here? Yep, right here. And if you look at the edges of all of these on the actual bell, do you guys see how it's shiny along that edge and here? So I'm just going to draw a shape right in here to tell me that that is where that hot spots are going to be. These are going to be shiny, right? Or like a white or a 0 or a 1, right? And then there's another light section in here. And so I'm just going around the whole area and space and put down anywhere that it should be dark or light. So right here, that tip there should be darker in this inside, right? Over here, there should be a little bit of a dark area. Again, I'm just giving myself like a little map so that when I do start shading, I know what should be darker and what should be lighter, okay? Anything else that I'm missing? Does that look good to start numbering? Yeah, all right. So the numbering, remember it's 0 through 6, 6 being the darkest. What would be a 6 in my drawing? The insides. So these insides would be 6s, right? Now, do you have to do the numbering? I'm going to leave that on you guys. It is much easier, I think, to number first. That way, when you start to shade, you already know exactly how dark or how light to go. I don't do it anymore because I'm used to being able to see the differences easier, right? Because I've done this many times, right? So again, I'm going to leave the numbering up to you, right? Okay, so that's ready to start shading, right? The other one, like say you were going to do this for two drawings. So the next section could be you can flip it over and do the underside of the bell, right? Or you could hold it sideways like this, right? And do this section in here, right? For the next couple of drawings, right? But now we're going to do the AirPod. So with AirPod, what did I say last class about doing something that's solid white or solid black? You could yes, you could do that. Take a picture and turn it into black and white. But this AirPod is solid white, right? And the paper is solid white. Some people will say, well, what am I going to shade if it's all white? It's not, it's white. Well, it is white, but there's light and dark areas. Yes, the shadows, right? Those shadows will make a big difference. So what I want you to keep in mind, though, people will say, well, what am I going to shade if it's all white? Well, if it was all white, then it would be invisible, right? Because the paper is white and so is the AirPod. So a trick, remember I said you can also put it on top of something that's a completely different color, or in this case, solid black, right? So you can see it better. What can't we see, though, that we were able to see here? Shadows. So I'm going to use this to be able to see the object better, but then when I'm ready for shadows, then I'll go ahead and put it on the white paper, right? Okay, let's see, what side do I want to do? I'm going to do this top portion. I'm going to do this top portion of the AirPod, right? You could do that. You can also be creative, everyone, by like putting it in a position that isn't just boring or plain. Think outside the box a little bit, right? Play around with positioning it. All right, but I'm going to do it this way. And again, I'm going to zoom in just so that everyone's aware. This is what I'm drawing, this section, okay? So I'm going to leave it like this. And then notice where I start. So when you guys are starting these drawings, start at one of the sides or the edges. So again, I'm going to start down here. And this is pretty skinny, right? Pretty thin. I'm going to make it wider on my drawing because, again, I am zooming in. So I'm going to make it this wide. All right? Sorry, you guys can't probably see that. All right? That's how wide I'm going to make it. And now, if you look, it curves. Hopefully I have enough room. If I don't have enough room to fit the rest of the object in it, it's fine. It's not a big deal. Okay? So I'm going to have it get cut off. That's fine. So it's in here. And then this one's going to go out here. Now we have this circle, which is roughly in this section. I don't know if you guys can see it at home. There's a little line right here. Can you guys see that? Yeah? So there's a little line in there. And that hugs or goes right next to that little circle, that black circle. This is going to be really light though, just so you know. And now I'm going to do this section. And that's going to get part of it cut off. So it's going to be in here. And then obviously I'm going to clean it up. So I get a nice smooth oval like it is in the actual thing. Okay, the other thing. In here, I want you guys to look at this part on the actual object. You'll notice that around it, you can see the thickness, the inside thickness right there, right? So you need to make sure you're drawing that as well. Now, I won't be able to fit all of it in my drawing, but I can tell that it starts here, right? And then I could see it show up down here, right? Okay, am I missing anything on the actual object? What? The shadow, good. So now I have this, right? Okay, so I'm ready for the shadow. I'm gonna put this now on the paper. Where's the light coming from? The right. Hence the shadow is on the left. So the right side is going to be light. So this outline, is it going to be this dark or is it going to be lighter? Yeah, it's going to be lighter because it almost blends in with the white background, right? So the shadow is now going to be here. Remember, I'm making it light, or you should be making your whole drawing really light because some of these lines may be lighter. Okay, anything else? Numbering, but are we done then? What about the inside in here? Are we missing any dark areas or light areas like we did for the bell? Yes, there's a little curve right here, or like a little bit of a dark area right in there, right? So there, I'm going to draw that shape as well. These little things are what's going to make, these little details what's going to make your drawing more realistic, right? Anywhere else that it gets darker from like the shadow or the light. Yeah, in here, see how it gets a little darker? When you're drawing your objects at home, remember to stay or draw your objects in the same place that you did the first day. So if you're sitting in front of a window, please make sure you're sitting in front of the window again. If you had the lights turned on, make sure the same amount of lights are turned on the second day when you go back. Because if you don't, the shadows may be different and the dark and light areas may be different on your object as well. Okay, anything else? Does that look right in terms of the lines, the dark and light areas? What about in here? That should be darker, right, in this side? These AirPods, are they a rectangle or are they a cylinder, this part? A cylinder, right? So when you shade it, it should look like it's curving, right? So remember when I showed you guys this one? Do you guys remember why we shade or they shaded the background? Contrast to make it pop out. So if you have an object that's solid white like this and you want it to pop out more, then you would shade the background a little bit just so it brings contrast and it makes your white object more noticeable in your drawing. Okay? Questions on how I did that or how you go about doing